All right, you guys, it's time to have a talk. We definitely have to talk about this. I'm sure you guys saw the title of this video, and we're probably like, okay, what do you mean? What's going on, buddy? Yeah, this video is pretty much a direct prompt from just so many things that's been happening lately over the past couple weeks within the FGC, and it's just things I'm not really okay with. And I think what ends up happening a lot of the time is like I let this stuff just kind of rock. I normally just like kind of just see it and just kind of move on. All this, you know, fighting game negativity that's been going on lately. Like it just feels like we're cannibalizing ourselves in more ways than one. I know that article that came about recently. I'm gonna talk about that. It's there in the content. It's there in socials. It's there. It's across the board. So I'm gonna just cut right to it and just say that, like, quite frankly, I think I'm just tired of just looking at it and just kind of like, I won't even say playing coy. I just look at it like, whatever. I just kind of like roll past it and just don't think about it. But now I think it has to stop. And I don't think we have enough people saying this, so I'm gonna be one of the first to just straight up just say it and just do it. This video straight up candid. This is just off the dome, just how I feel about the situation. I don't agree with this stuff whatsoever. So bear with me. This might be long, it might be short, it just depends on how I feel. But I do have a lot to say. But to get it started, let me open with the FGC. I believe in fighting games as a whole is actually doing good. I do think with so many games on the horizon and so many games to play right now, the FGC, as far as I'm concerned, and just fighting games as a whole, is doing pretty good. I do think also that it isn't without any kind of struggle. It isn't without any kind of strife. It would be unbecoming of me to sit here in front of this camera and tell you that there isn't any caveats to this. There aren't any like negative sides or downsides to this. That would be really like whack for what it's worth. I think despite that, we're still in a good place. I know, and before someone tells me something about Evo and the acquisition, this isn't really about that, to be honest with you. So that's a discussion for another time. Just specifically, this is isolating specifically the negativity through content, the negativity through socials, just the whole nine with the fighting games. I know a lot of flack has been given to Riot lately about 2XKO, layoffs, etc., etc. It's kind of a place I also want to kind of start with. And I just want to say that I think what really stinks is that we did lose people who were at Riot that are from the FGC, that they did lose their job. That part I'm not okay with, but it is what it is. I'm not super hands off about it. I'm not cold about it. Like, those are people that I know and I've known for years, going to tournaments, seeing them all over the place, playing, practicing with them, etc., etc., at events. Just, it doesn't, like, it comes with heavy heart, you know what I mean? But like with anything, life goes on, and those people will bounce back without a shadow of a doubt. I have no doubt in my mind that every last one of them are going to find a way to bounce back into the industry or move into another industry and find a place of stability for themselves, right? So I'm good with that. I'm not cold about that. But the game now does have a position that it's in that I do think is going to be okay. It's very clear that they have more characters on the way. There's still more plans. They're rolling out, other initiatives for events and things like that. So I think that's really good too. But while that's all there and good and well, I understand there are trepidations people have, etc., etc. There's a lot of negativity surrounding things about this game. And that leads me into another conversation with this, which is like, this is partially a part of this. It's going to kind of lean into more other parts, but it's the saving the FGC thing. Like, I've seen so many videos on that on YouTube alongside the negativity, and these are like, it's like a meme that was taken really far, and then it's turned into somewhat of like a I don't want to say a truth, but like it's a vehicle to push an agenda, right? that's like, this is gonna save the FGC because it's gonna have this, and this, and this, and this, and this, and it's like, well, I do think the expectations for Riot might have been high, and I'm definitely one of those people that can say with a straight face that I was definitely one of those people like saying, hey, you know, Riot has the ability to do these things. Never once did I ever say this is going to change the FGC. It's just based on Riot's current track record. They have shown that they know how to A, market, B, put on great presentation, and C, they clearly know how to make games. So with those things in mind, I've always showcased how and why these things are huge for Riot and how this could be a thing for 2XKO. Now, whether or not that's still a thing, that remains to be seen. But the fact of the matter is, if Riot wants to do that, they can. I'll never not show that or talk about it, right? But that's that, right? Based on that track record, it is safe to assume that they would have brought a lot to the table. And I think that they still are. I think the issue remains is like 2XKO as a title, it's finally found its footing as the game I believe that they want it to be. And sure, they're still trying to refine it and make it better. That's every game. But, you know, as with anything, it's going to take time for it to be what they want it to be. We all know the first year of a fighting game is always going to be rough. So I feel like this is going to be a lot of turbulence for right now for what they got going on. And they'll eventually get it after most likely the first year. It'll most likely get where it needs to be, right? But like to set the expectations of this is supposed to unify the FGC, is supposed to do this, that, and the other. I feel like it's really, really unbecoming of a lot of people, and especially creators, who push this agenda. And it really puts a bad precedent on what's happening in the FGC, and it sets bad expectations for the games. Because you could say this game is going to change the FGC for any game that's coming out. You know, it was set for Melty Blood, it was set for, you know, Uni 2, it was set for many games, you know. But the reality is, like, each game is going to have its own community, and the people are going to play and enjoy it how they see fit. They'll go to events, they'll support the game however they see fit, and it's just going to keep it pushing that way, right? It's not about saving the FGC with said game. It's more like each sub outlet is going to push itself to be an entity within the FGC. Does that make sense? Like, as someone that's been playing Guilty Gear for years, like, there was a point in time where, you know, Guilty Gear, its community, while not the largest, it was still pretty fierce. And as time went on, more people kept playing the game and playing the game and playing the game. And we saw it just kept growing. You know what I'm saying? And it's because the community loved the game. And that leads me into this conversation here about saving the FGC. There's nothing to be saved. We need to kill this. This whole saving the FGC, like, I can't stand it. So I feel like I'd love to not see that anymore. And I think we should focus more on, like, instead of saying this is going to save the FGC, like, this is going to be a great game or something like that. Like, and I get it. If you're a content creator, that's not going to get me clicks. But, like, it's also misleading when you say save the FGC, because people take it literal. You see what I'm saying? You never know who's watching that's going to take that literal and take that statement and run with it in more ways than one. So when you do that, you are also setting expectations for some people. And if said game doesn't deliver, and let's say you enjoyed the beta, right, but then the full release comes out and you don't enjoy the game, then you backtrack on your word. And while that's okay, you're all human, and you might feel some kind of way in the beginning and might feel indifferent later. You know, that was me for Tokon. I loved it from the start, and then when I saw what they were doing with the assist, it wasn't really something that I vibed with. Doesn't mean I didn't like the game, just that portion, it didn't run me the right way. Now they've adjusted it, now I'm like, cool, now we're where we need to be. Great. But sometimes people don't always also grant you that grace when you decide to switch up on something. And don't think of the word or the phrase switch up as a negative connotation. It's just people can switch their opinion, and they can switch how they feel about anything at any given point in time. So it does suck also sometimes as a creator we get scrutinized because we decide to have a change of heart on things. So that does suck. But it still remains that when you say this is going to save the FGC, you are, arguably speaking, in my honest opinion, setting a bad precedent. You're setting horrible expectations for people. And if it doesn't deliver, then it's, oh, I told you this wasn't going to do that. Oh, it wasn't going to be like that. I knew it wasn't going to. Everyone then turns into the armchair expert that knew this wasn't going to be the thing. So I think we got to stop that. That's one thing. And then to top it off, right? Another issue I have was with the negativity lately. And like, I know there's the article which I want to talk about, the article about fighting games being bad products and stuff like that. And it's like, I read through it on stream. I thought about it. I internalized it. I didn't want to release what I talked about on stream, but I spent a lot of time thinking about it. And to be honest with you, while there is some truth to what's being said in that article, I think at the same time, there are aspects of it that I don't agree with. But I'm not going to make this part specifically about challenging everything in that article, but instead, what I'm going to do is speak on how this has been a catalyst for almost every other fighting game content creator to just, we're just going to talk about this now. And it's like each and every content creator all has something to say about it. And while I don't think that's bad, I think part of what really gets me is like, it's riling people up to be in this position. And then we go through this cycle of why fighting games are bad products and why fighting games aren't as popular or why this isn't as popular. And it's like, when you think about it, if as a creator, you're constantly making videos like the problem with fighting games, why fighting games aren't popular, insert the problem with game here, and stuff like that, you are doing more harm than good in a lot of ways. Like, what ends up happening is you get diminishing returns. And I saw that happen with Tekken. In specific, when we had a lot of the newer people who were coming in, like Lily Pichu playing the game, and some of these other people like Skara, I remember specifically seeing a tweet from Lily Pichu like, should I keep playing Tekken if the community doesn't like the game? Everywhere I go, people just hate it. And this was before season 2. This is season 1 stuff, like early Sage Jam Slam things. And you have to think about what that looks like on the outside looking in for someone like Lily Pichu, who has a way larger audience than the vast majority of fighting game streamers as we speak right now, right? Objectively speaking. And think about her audience who sees that and who had some kind of interest in Tekken, and now their favorite person, who was an influencer for what it's worth, doesn't feel the need to play this or is questioning why they're playing this. That's huge. That is legitimately diminishing returns towards the FGC. Whether those players were going to be super competitive or not is irrelevant. You want more people playing the game, whether they're rookies, hardcore players or not. It doesn't make a lick of difference. The more players playing the game, the better, right? That helps the game sustain itself, right? That helps the project keep moving forward. That helps putting more money in the Pro Tours. It ends up putting more cosmetics into the game. There's no amount of things that these things can lead into. But because we don't think about these things in the immediate, we just do and act, we don't think about the ramifications of what we're doing, right? And I think here's where, actually, I know this is where my trepidation comes from, because we're not thinking about that aspect. Instead, we berate, belittle, and tarnish a lot of times what is the FGC. And to make matters worse, you have people on the outside who don't even go to tournaments, who don't know jack shit about the FGC, who just so happen to have big followings on YouTube and socials. They come in the immediate, the second they see something negative happen, and they're like, oh, we got to cover this because the FGC is shitting on itself again. And it's like, those people who have that casual based audience are showcasing to that said audience why you shouldn't play fighting games, because these are issues in fighting games. And I think, again, this is where I have issues. We don't need to shit on ourselves anymore. We had issues back in the day with the cross-tech and crap with Eris, respectfully. No beef to Eris or anything like that, but Kotaku covered it. Whether you like Kotaku or not, a lot of normies go read Kotaku and they see that and they're like, oh, the FGC is filled with a bunch of pervs. That's not what you want. And for what it's worth, Kotaku and quite a few other websites were very, vicious and malicious when it came to anything negative in the FGC. There's no celebration of, like, for example, Punk winning Evo. There's no celebration for Angry Bird winning Evo in these places. It's just, yeah, they won Evo. Cool. But, like, the second someone slips up, it's the biggest headline. So it's like, at what point are we willing to stop shooting ourselves in the foot? It's crazy that someone like Tens gets celebrated for being picked up on Sentinels for a $2 million buyout, or however much. It was a lot of money, right? He gets celebrated on all these different websites for that buyout, but we can't prop up our current players. That doesn't make sense. Why should we allow... Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that the FGC did not fight. The FGC did fight when Kotaku did show the negatives, and people did point that out. But the thing about it is, why should we let history keep repeating itself? It doesn't make sense. we shouldn't have other media outlets pointing at us saying this is why you shouldn't play. Like, we have to showcase to people why it's fun to play these games. I did research on my own to see if there was any videos, and there probably is, and maybe I just missed it, but I did research for a night, just out of the blue. Is there any videos based on this game saved the FPS genre, or this game saved MOBAs? You don't really see stuff like that. So it's like, why do we put ourselves in this position to where we end up scrutinizing ourselves and making people question whether or not they should play? It's very obvious, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm oblivious to this. I understand that the casual player base will always supersede, the hardcore player base. That's a given. That's any competitive game. That's any multiplayer. It's period. We know that. It's not a question, right? So if all you're left is with the hardcore, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but you still need the other player base to facilitate, to keep the game afloat, essentially, right? That therein lies where I go next with this, which is the one thing I hear all the time: single player content in fighting games. Because this is part of why fighting games are doing bad and why fighting games aren't popular, because we don't have enough single player content. Well, the reality is, I've truly just grown tired of this. 100%. Now you're probably wondering, why are you so tired of it, Kensu? Like, I don't get it. It's true. Yes and no. It's true in the sense that a lot of fighting games do have fighting game content that is single player focused. However, what I don't agree with is when it's stated that, oh, they should have this mode or that mode, or an RPG mode, or a turn-based mode, or Yakuza mode, or at that point you're asking for another game featuring the fighting game characters. Additionally, it's unreasonable to believe that every developer has AAA money like Capcom to make a world tour. And for what it's worth, when you have modes like World Tour mode, that is technically speaking a separate game inside of a fighting game, you're asking for a lot of dev time away from potentially rebalancing the game. That could hold off away from costumes and things like that, which you hear constantly that, oh, well, the costumes take time, which I don't disagree. They probably do, right? But don't you think it's kind of crazy that World Tour mode has crazy amounts of customizations and cosmetics for just your avatar? Imagine if you could do that with the actual main characters of the game. The reality is, the avatars, while cool, the point of the fighting is for you to learn how to play it and appreciate its characters, because you cannot take your avatar into Street Fighter 7, most likely. Who knows, right? But generally speaking, let's say that you can't, then you would need to have a love for a character in the game. If you're just in love with the IP called Street Fighter, that's okay too, but you can't more than likely bring your avatar and go compete with it or nothing like that. Like, competitive play doesn't include that. Maybe it could at some point down the road. I have no clue. That'd be a hell of a nightmare to balance and let people do stuff, right? But, it's not to take away from anyone's thunder with World Tour mode. I think it's a great mode, but it's really unrealistic to say the developers of Under Night In-Birth should make a World Tour mode. Yeah, with what money? Not every studio has the money or the budget to pull that off. So you'd have to temper your expectations and remember that whatever the game provides for you, that's what you're going to have to play. Additionally, when I hear this, as I said before, I'll hear things like, we need these modes and that mode. And it's like, well, these modes also take away from the actual game in itself. Some of these modes don't even really focus on you playing the game in regards to like learning how to actually play the game. So having some single player content that is focused to teach you how to actually play the game, which would be most of the tutorial modes, or it could be partially story mode, those things are cool, but at some point you're gonna have to get your feet wet and go play people. It's really weird to play, in my personal opinion, I think it's really weird to play a multiplayer game to focus on single player modes. Therein lies another complaint that I have. It's like, why do we want to take fighting games and turn them into a different genre, right? It feels like, and I could be wrong, but this is my observation since I'm very knee deep into fighting games, right? I don't know why we have to make a fighting game into an RPG It's cool when RPGs feature those elements, but like things like why are there no motion controls or et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, you don't really see fighting game players going over to Marvel Rivals and asking why there's no quarter circles or DP inputs, right? You just play the game for what it is. So it's really weird when I see that there are people who come from other genres. They're like, well, why is it like this? It's like, well, this is how this genre works. Well, I don't like it. It's like, well, they've tried to make stuff easier for you to understand and digest, and they'll still say they don't like it. Or communities will push them in a different direction. So let's say that Street Fighter 6 modern controls versus classic controls. Modern controls for scrubs, man. You really want to be on classic. Modern controls there to help new people who aren't really into fighting games like that to kind of learn how to play them that way. Because I've learned in recent times, Street Fighter 6 in particular, there are people that understand concepts of fighting games but just lack the execution. Of course, that could be remedied in time, but modern controls offers a bit of an ease of access to these things, still with caveats behind it. Obviously, lower damage, etc., right? But these things are good. They shouldn't be shunned or seen as bad. But instead, when I've seen it through the bigger creators, like I don't want to say the Tyler ones, but we'll just say the bigger echelon of people who don't really play the fighting games. I think when they were in like the Sage Jam Slam, amongst other things, they were told to not play modern controls because it's because of the things I mentioned before. When they could have probably found themselves being more successful playing the modern controls and learning how to play the game that way. But I get it. Oh, it's training wheels and da-da-da-da. But they put it there so that you could learn that way and then graduate if you so choose. But that's clearly not the case for a lot of people, right? So where am I going with this, right? It's just these things are put in place to help you learn how to play. The World Tour mode is there to also help you learn how to play too, but we can't ask for full-blown RPG modes because I've seen some really outlandish requests for fighting games, and I just think it's really unbecoming when I think your goal, actually not, I don't think, I know your goal is to play the game and learn how to play it against people. It is a PvP game in its essence. If you want to play it by yourself, there should be modes to facilitate that. However, those modes should not override the main game. They should not. Point blank period. I stand on business with that. Sorry, cry to your mother. It's cool to have single player modes. It's cool. But when I hear things about, full blown story modes and stuff like that, it's like a lot of people, like, I mean, I know so many people that will go buy an RPG, beat it, take it back. You know what I mean? And go get the refund and then go play another game. They like, the point of the fighting game is to play people, right? And the way I view fighting games isn't, as most people say, is chess. That's like the generic thing to say. Instead, I view it as martial arts. You pick a weapon, which would be your character, and you learn how to wield your weapon, aka your character, against various opponents. If you want to play those weapons against the CPU to see if you can sharpen your skills there, that's cool. But the point of the game is to sharpen your skills to fight other people. If you want to fight AIs, that's fine too. But at some point, you're going to want to play people and limit test yourself. Like a lot of fighting game is limit testing and seeing how well you can do against other players. That is the whole point. I don't really see very many people, or I don't really hear many people who play games like Marvel Rivals to go play against the CPU. Now, I do know that when you do play, because I do play the game myself, after XYZ amount of losses, you'll end up fighting bots for like one game, and then it resets, right? I get that. But prior to that and after that, you end up playing other people. And that's the point of the game. It's a PvP game. You want to play against other people. So it always feels weird to me that people want to play fighting games but want to play them by themselves. I understand maybe to a degree there's performance anxiety, or maybe they feel like they're probably going to be bad when they play people, but the reality is like everyone has to start somewhere, and it's okay to be bad at the start, but you can be good as you go along. You just have to keep trying. It is a journey. It is going to take time, but at the end of the day, do you feel accomplished? You know what I mean? Like, it's no different than like trying to conquer a Dark Souls or Demon Souls boss. Like, you will feel accomplished once you understand the strategy, but there is exactly that strategy, and you will have to use your mind. You will have to think. You will have to work at beating your opponents, because that's just how it is. That's fighting games in a nutshell. Like, you will have to learn to beat your opponents, and sometimes it'll take more time to be better than what you want. Maybe you might think you're better than what you really are, and that leads to super duper great expectations of self, but still not being able to perform, leading into performance anxiety. It's like those things happen to people, but you just have to take it a step at a time. You can't rush progress in anything, life, video games, anything. Like, you want to be good, it's going to take time. So these aspects exist, but people want to skip that phase. And that is where I just get upset, because it's like, first you want the fighting games to be something it's not, then you want to skip the steps in terms of what it means to be good. Like, you can't do that. I can't do that if I play Marvel Rivals. I can't do that if I play other games either. Like I can't do that. So why should you? And I think a lot of people in that regard feel like they're entitled to be able to just win. It's like, well, no, you will have to learn. Like, there is a point of learning. I get it. You can only learn so much, but that depends on each person. Like, if you feel like you can go further and push yourself, then go for it. And at the same time, I want to throw this out here too. Just because you're pushing yourself doesn't mean that you're trying to be an evil competitor. A lot of people have a lot of misconceptions about fighting games, and in that, like, they're so hard, which is another point of contention here in this video. They're so hard. I gotta be an evil level competitor to play this game. That's too hard. I don't want to do that. It's like, dude, there's many people out there just button mashing and having a good time. You don't have to know frame data. You don't have to try hard. If you just want to hit buttons against people at your skill level, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with that. No one's taking away anything from you to doing that. Like, if you want that for yourself, by all means. If you want to push yourself, by all means. Like, the fact of the matter is, you have many branching paths that you can take as a fighting game player, whether you are a fighting game casual, fighting game enthusiast, whatever you want to classify yourself as. You can choose to go that route if you want to, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, remember to temper your expectations. If you want more, you have to put in more work. It's no different than if you want to finish Clair Obscur, you got to keep playing the game. If you want to finish that game, you have to keep playing the game. If you want more skills in your RPG, you will have to, guess what? Grind to get EXP to get your stuff. Just like those games, there's a grind here. It's just grinding against CPUs is not going to be very useful in the grand scheme of things, but it will help you learn the game. But eventually you're going to want to break away from that and play people and get the adrenaline rush of what it means to play someone in a fighting game. And that's the big joyous part of fighting games, is the adrenaline rush that you get from playing someone. It's exhilarating a lot of the times, especially when you overcome a bad matchup, or if you're a tournament player, you overcome someone who is your demon, someone who's your bracket demon. It's like, those things are really cool when they happen, but you deny yourself these things when you indulge in the content that surrounds negativity around the fighting games. You get it you get the notion in your head that fighting games are too hard and you'll never be good at them, and then that's not true, clearly. And you buy into these things saving the FGC. Like, when you buy into all of these things, you get into a headspace of, well, why it turns to, why bother with this anyway? I can just go play Marvel Rivals, or I can go play Deadlock, I can go play Valorant, I can play League of Legends, I can play Dota instead, and I might have a way better time because insert reason here. You know what I mean? Filler reason. It doesn't matter. It's infinite reasons, right? But why I'm saying all this is because it's time to just showcase why this genre is so badass and why it's some of the most candid, raw energy you'll ever see in competitive gaming. It's the equivalent to, like, regular sports. When you see people pop off, it's like there's a lot of energy and emotion that comes from those games. Again, especially when you beat a bracket demon. It's like, he's had your number for all these events, and it's like, dang, you overcame it. Or even from the spectator point of view, if you follow your favorite player and you know your favorite player has that issue with said player throughout his events, and you see him overcome that, that's exhilarating. No different than watching your favorite MMA fighter overcome someone that you didn't think he was going to beat, or watching your favorite sports team overcome something in the playoffs or the grand finals. There's no amount of energy that the FGC is lacking in terms of competitive play. You can feel the same way if you're playing ranked and you beat someone that you've always been your ranked demon, or you just did something really cool, like you pulled off something cool. A big part of fighting games and why they're cool is to be able to pull off cool things, exploring the game and understanding, like, what it takes to be good, what you need to do to be great. Again, even if you're going to be great, that doesn't mean just because there's homework, it doesn't mean that you're pushing to be a scholar at this. You can just be good and beat your friend. You can be good. Let's say you're hard stuck platinum. You know, if plat is your peak, that's okay. If you want more, you gotta play more. You gotta hustle. You're gonna have to learn what's necessary to get to the next step. Sometimes it's not very obvious what to do, but that's why we have coaches. That's why I have the metafiles. We have all kinds of things to help you. The content creators, there's all these content. There's so many resources to help you improve at fighting games. So it takes me back to my original point of contention, is like, why so much negativity when part of our goal as creators, which I get it, you know, is to bring content to people in more ways than one, be it negative or positive. Obviously, negativity gets the most clicks. You're going to click on it because you're curious about this hot take or whatever. Cool. But like at some point, we're going to end up in a position where, unfortunately, in my opinion, that I can unfortunately see it, where there's a world where only the negative thrives and anything positive is just going to be shunned completely to the side. And there's going to be all the negative skepticism surrounding the games, and no one's going to be hopeful about playing anything. They'll just be like, oh, well, this sucks because it's not Street Fighter, or this sucks because of insert reason here. And there's just an infinite amount of reasons in which people will throw at you to showcase either why they're going to dumpster set game and you should just play this one, or the sky is just the limit in this regard. And it is unfortunate to say, but these are the kind of things that end up happening. So I think for 2026, me personally, my goal isn't to showcase all this negativity in the FGC. My goal is to showcase to you guys, especially this year in particular, is why fighting games are sick. Like, there's so many games to play. There's so much to be grateful for in terms of being able to just be a player. And for what it's worth, maybe even just be a part of the FGC. From a spectator standpoint, casual standpoint, it doesn't matter. Like, it is exhilarating when you see it at the highest level and you start learning more about it. You know what I mean? It's okay. It's okay if you want to be, you know, casual and you want to enjoy it that way, or you just want to be a spectator and enjoy it that way. But remember, the other part of it is too indulging in it in a positive fashion, right? There are a lot of other creators other than myself. Obviously, I want you to support me, clearly, right? But there are other creators you can support as well. And if said creators respectfully are hitting you with a bunch of negativity, it's okay to step away and go where it's positive. It's good for you to go into a positive, safe space so that you can connect with other people, other creators, other fans, other players who are trying to stay positive about the things surrounding the games. If you indulge in all the negativity, you're just going to be a product of your environment. And it goes both ways, the negative and the positive. This isn't about being, as they say, toxic positivity or whatever, and coping. It's not about that. It's protecting your peace with the things that you enjoy. If this is your hobby, you want to enjoy it to the fullest. It doesn't matter if you're the best player or the worst player. Are you having fun? Yes or no? If the answer to that is yes, keep going and keep having fun. Let this be part of your hobby that you can just be proud of, and whether you win or you lose. You know, I've lost millions of games over the course of time. I've won millions of games over the course of time. I've won tournaments over the course of time. I've lost tournaments over the course of time. But the one thing that will always bring me back and always keeps me grounded in playing fighting games is not just my love for it, but seeing how the community has grown from my start till now is a beautiful thing. And there's no chance of this stopping anytime soon, as far as I can see. So, like, I say we should just keep going full steam ahead and keep pushing as much positivity as possible in the space, because the more negative we are, the more we're going to push people away that we want to play the games. I'm not oblivious to the other factors of things that are needed in the games. Rollback netcode, some single player modes. I get that. I'm not against those things. Those things still require you to temper your expectations on what they're capable of doing. Like, if I had to choose, for example, single player content versus rollback netcode, I'm picking rollback netcode every time. I'm not going to have a new fighting game come out, have a story mode, and then be delay based netcode. That just doesn't. That's not gonna fly in 2026 and beyond. We've fought so hard for rollback netcode, and I know not all rollback is created equal, but if they get it right and it's great, I'd rather them fight to keep making the rollback good than to focus on a single player mode that is only going to get so much play, because the game in itself means more than that single player mode, as far as I'm concerned. Maybe some people's priorities might be different in that regard, but I would rather be able to play people online than not. So, that's just me. With all of this, I just want to stop seeing. It probably won't happen, to be honest with you. It's just gonna. It's the cycle of content creation. You're gonna see all the negative. Why this game is this? Why this game is that? Saving the FGC, saving this. Just, I don't know. I can't indulge in that. I will not indulge in it. I will not support those videos at all. Even if those videos mean well, just my first instinct is already a fat turn off. So, and it's with respect to all the creators. I mean, it's your world. Do whatever you want. Just, I will not support that, because as far as I'm concerned, I don't think that supports the FGC. But I understand at the same point in time, people look at it as this is a means of conversation. We're just bringing up the conversation. I mean, we can conversate about other things, like how to be better at it, how to be better at the game, how to play this character better, how to look at the meta, who's good right now, who's doing what, what region's strong right now, what things can we take away from said region, because right now NA could be even stronger at each game if we have more of this in the community. We need to come together as a community and push for these things so that we can understand why. Like, for example, let's say NA loses at some event, maybe we can have some kind of analysts that are like making videos about why we're losing and what we can do as a scene to tighten up to get better. And that goes for everyone, high level players, low level players. It doesn't make a lick of difference. The more well informed you are as a player, the more you'll be equipped to be able to handle and deal with situations. That's why analysis videos are so great for people, etc., etc. And just the ability to break the game down and showcase, again, why it's fun, how we can get better, and how we as a country, a region, not just east, west, north, south, but as a country, as a whole unit, can defend the house when we have international people come in. With respect to the international competition, because international competition is great. It's always good to push ourselves and see where we stack up. But we can't get to that point if we're not playing together, we're not showcasing why the games are fun, showcasing all as much positivity about the games as possible. I'm not saying don't be negligent towards the negative aspects of the game. I'm not saying don't have constructive criticism. You can have those videos and talk about those things, but we need to not make those the biggest focal point when we want a bigger audience. You can't want a bigger audience and then focus on hardcore negatives. It doesn't make sense. You're just pushing people away. Whether you like to believe it or not, whether you see it as just, I'm just making a video just to talk about this. As I said again, it as far as I'm concerned, I think you're just doing more harm than good. And again, with respect to all the creators, it's nothing personal. It's just, I won't indulge in it. I will always encourage people to not indulge in it, because we need this to grow. It's growing. It's getting bigger. There's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of moving parts. But like, if we cannot ignore, like, when there's like just a gigantic mass exodus of just, or a mass culmination, of just all these videos about negative things about the FGC, it's a drama. Like, I'm telling you now, we're just doomed to fail in the grand scheme of things. Because while there will be positive things, more people will they'll drown out the positivity in place of the negativity, and then nothing is going to thrive save for a few games. And at that point, I hope people are ready to just play Street Fighter 6 or 7 or Tekken 8 or whatever for the next, set amount of years. I know that sounds extreme, but like, the fact that I'm saying this out loud should tell you that while it is extreme, it could very well be a reality. Because I'll be honest with you guys, there was a point in time where EVO was not as all-inclusive as they are now. Quick story about that, and I'm not going to spend too much time on it, is that EVO didn't even, like, its first KOF was KOF 13. I don't want to hear anything in the comments about, they had it as a side tournament. The prestige that comes from it not being a side tournament is way different. Yes, you won an EVO but like it's not on the main stage. It's not inside the Mandalay. It's not inside the whatever. It's not. You're not on the stage. Period. It has different weight. It's always had different weight. It's not gonna change. You can tell me whatever you want. It doesn't make a lick of difference. Side tournament at Evo, while is a great feat, do not get me wrong, it just doesn't hold as much weight as someone being inside on the Mandalay Bay stage or being on the main stage to compete on Sunday. It's not the same. It's not comparable. I'm just being honest. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm just be so real. Knowing that they were all inclusive now and seeing how it was before it, Marvel 2, CVS 2, Third Strike, that's it. Super Turbo. You know what I mean? Maybe Alpha 3 or some shit like that. You know, it was primarily all Capcom. They're now all inclusive as of the last maybe decade and some change. That says a lot, and you can't turn a blind eye to that. So, if you're new to this, just know that it didn't start the way you see it. And as someone that has seen it from essentially the beginning, that should tell you something. So let's try moving forward to not sit here and harp on the negatives. If we do, it's not going to help us. It's just not. It's not going to help us at all, you guys. I'm just being so honest. I'm not going to lie. This is just how I feel. Just to kind of wrap this up and just kind of put a lid on this. Like, pretty much after I make this video, I don't really have any intention to kind of revisit this and talk about anything negative any further. Again, my goal as of this year and beyond is to just showcase why fighting games are fun and badass and why you should play them. If you're into that kind of stuff, hang out here. Definitely appreciate it. But I would rather give you guys more of a safer, positive environment to appreciate fighting games as a whole, or at least with what I'm playing, right? Than to give you a negative space to kind of push you and your friends away. We want more people. We don't want less people. So that's my Avengers Endgame. That's my X-Men Last Stand. Well, this is my X-Men Last Stand. I'm not going to do this again. I'm not going to lie, you guys. This is going to be the only video you're going to get out of me for this. Like, I won't revisit this, I don't think. This year should be about positivity with the amount of things that are coming. And I want to facilitate that for you guys. So you'll see a lot more, as this video, you're going to see a lot more community-based things where if I see something, I'm just going to bring it to light if you didn't know about it, so at least you can know. For example, DOA just had a resurgence and they're playing the game like crazy right now, which is really cool to see. You know, things like that that are going on in the community. I think these things need to be highlighted and these things need to be shown. I guess it leads into this, and I'll try not to talk too much about this because it is something I wanted to say earlier, but let me add this here right now because we're pretty much approaching the end, but I wanted to say this too. I want you guys to also know that the FGC is more than just the game, okay? The FGC is made up and comprised of players, tournament organizers, fan artists, cosplayers, developers that pop up at tournaments, casuals, you name it, they're there. But these in particular are ones that I want you guys to highlight because these are the people you're going to see front and center at the tournaments. TOs, players, cosplayers, and the artists in particular. Right? And of course the fans and casuals, they're going to be there. Right? These tournaments on the outside, offline, are a big celebration with competition and what it means to be in a community of people that enjoy fighting games as a whole. Not just, oh, I enjoy just Street Fighter. No, when people go to Evo, when people go to Combo Breaker, when people go to Texas Showdown, CEO, whatever, right? Frosty Faustings, these are people, sure, they're there for their game, right? But like, it's the sum of many, right? That creates the whole. Right? We have to hold on to that because without that, we don't have community. We can't have order. It's just gonna be all chaos. We have to stand and band together and push this community forward because at the end of the day, This could all implode at the drop of a hat, drop of a dime. Anything could happen. And I'm telling you guys, and I say this all the time on my streams, I'm gonna say in this video, me personally, I don't want, if this was to be the end, just hypothetically speaking, I wouldn't want the end of me playing fighting games or the fighting game genre going away. I don't want this to be in a situation where I'm in a negative headspace. I contributed all this negativity towards it. I did nothing but contribute towards the downfall of the genre as a whole. I couldn't live with myself at that because I love fighting games that much. I love the scene that much. I love competing that much. I love the sum of its parts. That is the entirety of the FGC. To the point to where I wouldn't allow for that for myself. So, I'm leaving you guys with that to think about. That's going to do it for this video. I know I yapped for a good minute, but this is how I feel. Straight candid, off the dome. If you feel the need to talk about this in the comments and it hit you, like if this video touched you in any way, any meaningful way, feel free to let me know in the comments. Talk to me. Let me know how you feel. Please, I'll ask you to keep it civil. If you intend to come at me sideways, well, please don't do that. That's not what this video was about. I'm gonna get up out of here. You guys take care. I'll catch you guys in the next one. I'll be easy. Peace.